Hello. So this is a video for the Amy Winehouse song You Know I'm No Good, the bass line of that. So why do I have a guitar? Just because I want to show where the bass line comes from in terms of the chords of the song, and it's difficult to show chords on a bass. So what we have in the song, we've got that introduction, and the introduction is just the band is playing a D minor chord, or that's what's implied by the bass line. And then when she starts singing, we hear a now I'm playing them as bar chords, you'll see why in a minute, but the chords are D minor, G minor, and then A7, and then back to D minor. Okay, that's the sort of main part of the verse. Now, in the beginning, in the intro, where it's just D minor, we have this line on the bass. The bass line goes... Now, that is... it's from the chord. It's pretty much from the chord. The chord is D minor. And, you know, with D minor, the lowest, or any bar chord, sorry, D minor, D major, D7, any bar chord, the lowest three notes give you this power chord shape. And the bass line is kind of coming from that, because it's coming from the notes of the chord. Those are the strongest notes. We've got, if instead of playing it here, I play it here, same notes, but an octave higher, and if I play it here, you can see how it fits into the D minor shape, the power chord shape, the bar chord shape, because the first two notes, they're from the chord shape. I don't even have to move my fingers. So we've got this, which is the note D, it's the root, and then we go to the note A, which is the fifth note of the chord D. And then we've got this climb up. Then, yes, this isn't in the chord shape, but it's just adding to the chord. We've got, now that note, if you were playing a D minor 7 rather than a D minor, you would have that note in the chord. This is a note C. And so what the bass line does, it goes from root, fifth of the chord, to the minor 7th of the chord, or flat 7 of the chord. Then it's got this chromatic note, which just means you're playing one semitone at a time. This semitone, or this chromatic note, leads you back to, from the flat 7, C, C sharp, D, leads you back to the root note. So the bass, as is typical of bass lines, is very much using notes from the chords, because those are the strongest notes. Because if the band's playing a chord, then the notes that are going to most fit that chord and most make you feel that this is where we are musically at the moment, is notes from the actual chord that the band is playing. So the shape that you're going to get on the bass, I'll play it in a minute, but you've got this very boxy shape of 5, 5, sorry if I do it down here. And like I said, these are the same notes, I'm just doing it down an octave, because there's root, root, fifth of the chord, flat 7, then climbing back up to the root again. Now, yeah, okay, let me, God, I forgot what I was going to say. So that's where the bass line comes from, and it's in this boxy shape of 5, 5, 5, 5, 3, 4, 5, 5. And that boxy shape is all contained within, yeah, pretty much all contained within that power chord shape, yeah. Then what happens is basically that figure, that bass line, gets moved around. variations, yeah, definitely with variations, but you're basically doing this. You're basically taking that same configuration, that same shape, that same bass line with variations, and you're playing it on each chord as the chords go by. So when the band's playing D minor, you're playing that shape with notes of the D minor chord. Then the band go to G minor and you're playing here. Pretty much. And then it goes to A7. Think of, there's A7, but you could think of A7 being played like, yeah, we don't have enough fingers on guitar, but all those fingers could stay there and you could put the flat 7 there. But in fact, actually, with the finger off, you can more clearly see where the flat 7 comes in this dominant 7 shape. So I'm doing that same shape for each chord because look, when I played the bar chord, remember whether it's a minor like D minor here or G minor here or A7 here, we've pretty much got that power chord shape going through each chord, yeah? Whether it's minor, major or dominant 7. The reason being because the minor, major and dominant 7 all have the root and fifth and root again. They all share those notes. So whether it's minor, major, dominant 7, they all have root and fifth in them, and that's where you get a power chord from. Yeah, so I hope that's helped. Well, because what I really wanted to get across was this idea that the whole bass line, or this bit, then when it moves to the next chord, is just pretty much doing the same thing. I mean, like I said, there are variations just to make it a smoother line, smoother movements between the chords, but the whole bass line is based on this. And I know later on in the song you get, or whatever it is, but it's all coming from this sort of shape, yeah? So the first thing I'd like you to do is just try getting this shape and moving it around. Now I'll play it on bass so we get a clearer idea. Okay, so like I said there, on bass, well, we don't have enough strings to make D minor, but you can see the power chord shape. Yeah, and yeah, fret 3, fret 5, and this is our bass line. Yeah, so instead of, this is our power chord shape of D minor. Instead of doing the notes here, just as I did on guitar, I took it an octave lower and I'm doing it here. Okay, so you'll see this in the tab. It goes 5, 5, 5, 5, 3, 4 on the A string and the E string. Now, for the picking hand, I'm doing alternate fingers. And for the fretting hand, I'm doing fingers 4 and 3, then fingers 1, 2, and then 4 again. So I'm not going 1, 2, 3. I could do that. I could do it all with fingers 1, 2 and 3, but it's a bit of a stretch when I want to go from fret 5 to fret 3. If you're on a guitar, you would use fingers. You'd probably use fingers 1, 2 and 3 because the frets are closer together. But on a bass, the reason why bass players use so much fingers 1 and 4 is because the frets are wider. So it's quite a stretch if I'm doing that. But this isn't bad, yeah? So that, getting from fret 5 to fret 3 is quite a stretch if I just use fingers 1, 2 and 3. But if I use fingers 3, 4 and 1, it's not so much of a stretch. So just in terms of how to get that, you can hear all the notes aren't ringing out, they're not all sustained. It's not that. So you've got, we're dampening or choking some of the notes, yeah? We've got the, and you know how to do that, right? Usually with this hand, when you want the note to stop, you just release the pressure. You keep the finger on the string in the same place, but you release the pressure. So, and there on that second note on the E string, well actually on both of them, they're short, aren't they? So maybe you can see that I play and then release the pressure. I mean I pluck and then release the pressure. And this is just a run up, that's simple enough. And remember I'm going fingers on my fretting hand, 1, 2, 4. Now, you may hear that little thud. What I'm doing there is plucking the string, releasing with this finger, and at the same time as I'm releasing, I'm putting this finger, this plucking finger, back on the string. I can do it loudly or softly. If I want it to be really percussive, I can hit it. I don't want it to be really percussive in this case, so I'm just doing it softly. But the reason why I do it just put the finger back on the string. It's a way of keeping time. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and if I just 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2, 1 and 2 and 3. I could do it like that without putting this finger back on the string, but it just makes it more difficult to keep time. So you might find yourself doing that at first, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. And that's okay, but if you see a bass player playing this, you'll probably see him put the finger, pluck, and then put the finger back on the string. And, oops, and yes, I talked about alternating fingers. And maybe you can see that I'm doing that first and second note with the same finger, it turns out. First finger, first again. Now, the reason being, there's enough of a time gap between the first and second note so that I don't need to rush, so that I don't need to do the alternating fingers. I could do, but I just find it more natural to go first finger, first, and then I've plucked with the first finger on the A string, and then I drag it across. It's called raking. Pluck, pluck. So I pluck the A string, and then I drag it up onto the E string. Then we've got two fast notes, so that's when I start doing the alternating fingers. And then when I do that run, because that's quite fast as well, I'm doing alternating fingers. Okay, so that's, oh god, this video's got quite long. That is the very first bass line, the first figure, the first pattern. And now, this isn't exactly the bass line, but it's the, if you like, the scaffolding of it, the fundamentals of it. I mean the next bit that's coming. This is what happens at first in the intro and also in the song. And then it goes something like that. I mean, there's, like I said, a variation of it. But what I'd like you to try and do just a bit is take this shape and then try it here, which is, you can see I'm doing the same shape, but I just shifted up a set of strings, and that's what goes over the G minor. So I'm going now on the D string and the A string, and then I'm going to take that up, again still on the D and the A string, the middle two strings, and then that would go over the A, over the A7, and then back to our original for the D minor. So just as a little exercise to get your hand moving around, once you've got just try it here and try it here and try it back. Now, like I said, that isn't the actual bass line. Of course, this first part is, it's the intro. The rest of it, there's variations on that, but I'd like you to try moving that figure around. Just to get a sense of the underlying structure of the bass line that we're going to go into, yeah, because it is basically moving that pattern around. The reason being, that pattern, like I was saying when I was on the guitar, that pattern gives you the root of the chord, the fifth, the flat 7, leading up to the root again. So those notes, root, fifth, and flat 7, well, they suit a D minor 7, a G minor 7, and an A dominant 7. They all share a root, a fifth, and a flat 7. So this is a really handy little figure. Okay, so two things to practice with this. Practice, like I said, the actual bass line in time, I mean with the correct timing. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and also just try moving it around just as an exercise. And then we'll go into the rest of the bass line in another video because this has got quite long. Okay, hope that's alright.